At my mom's grave, I wept in the rain, pleading for strength to endure my aunt's cruelty, but then something unbelievable happened. Rain hammered against my shoulders, cold enough to slice through my denim jacket, but I barely felt it. I was kneeling in the muddy grass of Maple Ridge Cemetery, my arms wrapped around the marble headstone that marked my mother's grave. "Mom, I can't do this anymore," I whispered, my voice trembling against the howling wind. The storm blurred everything, but it wasn't just the weather making it hard to see. My eyes burned with tears I couldn't hold back anymore. "Please help me. I don't know how to survive another day with her." The words tasted like poison in my mouth. I'd never begged for anything like this before, not like a broken child desperate for someone to tell me I still had a place in this world. Behind me, the lights from Aunt Linda Morrison's house cut through the darkness like an angry eye. She'd slammed the door in my face barely an hour ago, her venomous words still echoing, "You think you're better than me? Get out of my house, Emily. Don't come crawling back until you learn some respect." Respect? The word was a cruel joke. I'd scrubbed her floors until my knuckles bled, cooked her pot roast dinners, tackled every chore without a single complaint, but nothing was ever enough. Tonight had been the worst yet. She'd invited over Chuck, her drinking buddy, along with some stranger who stared at me like I was merchandise at a garage sale. When I refused to sit and be social with them, she called me ungrateful and backhanded me so hard my ears rang for 10 minutes. That's when I ran. Kept running through the rain-soaked streets of Cedar Falls until my knees hit the wet earth here at Mom's side. I stared at the photo embedded in the headstone, Mom's gentle smile frozen forever in time, her nurse's uniform crisp and proud. "You always said to be kind, to forgive," I choked out, pressing my forehead against the cold marble. "But she doesn't want me to live, Mom. She wants to crush everything good left in me. I can't breathe in that house anymore." Lightning split the sky, followed by thunder that shook the ground beneath me. The storm didn't care about my pain, didn't pause to offer comfort. For a terrifying moment, I thought about staying right there until morning. Maybe the cold would numb everything, maybe I could just disappear. But somewhere deep inside, a small voice whispered, "Get up, Emily. Live. You promised her you'd live." I wiped my face with shaking hands, though the rain replaced my tears instantly. "Okay, Mom," I murmured. "I'll try. But I don't know how much more I can take." I hugged my knees and waited, for the storm to pass, for my life to make sense, for anything to change. I didn't know then that morning would bring someone who would turn everything upside down, someone who'd prove I didn't have to face this alone. But in that moment, all I had was cold earth, a broken home behind me, and a promise I wasn't sure I could keep. Life with Aunt Linda had always been hard, but after my 18th birthday last month, it became unbearable. Every morning started with her voice cutting through the thin walls like a rusty blade, "Emily, these dishes won't wash themselves. And don't forget to fix that back gate today. I'm not having the neighbors think we live like trailer trash." Never a good morning. Never a smile. Just orders barked like I was some servant she'd never asked for. The house itself told the story of our broken relationship. It had been Mom's pride and joy, a cozy 2-bedroom ranch on Elm Street with a wraparound porch and flower boxes Mom had painted sunshine yellow. But Linda had stripped away every trace of warmth. Mom's family photos were gone, replaced by Linda's tacky ceramic roosters. My childhood bedroom had become her craft room, so I slept in what used to be Mom's office, a cramped space with a lumpy twin bed and a window that barely cracked open. I'd learned early not to argue. Silence was survival. But even when the chores were done, Linda would find more. Cleaning the garage, mending clothes that weren't even mine, scrubbing the driveway with a wire brush. And when there was nothing left to clean, she'd start in on me. "Look at you," she'd sneer, eyes narrow with contempt. "Walking around with those nursing books like you're something special. Dreaming about college while I break my back paying bills. You're lucky I even let you stay here, you ungrateful little brat." Those words stung because I was dreaming. Late at night, after Linda passed out in her recliner with a bottle of Bud Light, I'd study the nursing textbooks I'd borrowed from Cedar Falls Public Library. I wanted to help people, to honor Mom's memory by following the path she'd started but never finished. That dream was my secret rebellion, quiet but fierce. That evening, everything exploded. Linda had invited Chuck over, along with some greasy guy named Daryl I'd never seen before. I could smell the cheap whiskey before they even walked through the door. "Emily," Linda called, checking her lipstick in the hallway mirror. "Come sit with us. Chuck brought someone real nice for you to meet." My stomach twisted into knots. I'd seen how Chuck looked at me before, and this Daryl character was even worse, his eyes following me around like a predator sizing up prey. No thanks, I said quietly. I have homework. Homework. Linda's voice rose to a shriek. Don't you dare embarrass me. Get in that living room right now. When I still didn't move, she slammed her beer down so hard foam sprayed across the coffee table. You little ingrate. Before I could react, her hand cracked across my cheek, sharp, fast, leaving the taste of copper in my mouth. You think you're too good for my friends? Too good for this house? Then get out. Go see how the real world treats little princesses who think they're better than everyone else. The two men watched with sick amusement, Daryl actually chuckling under his breath. That laugh burned hotter than the slap. I grabbed my jacket and bolted into the storm, Linda's screams following me into the night. I only had one thought, anywhere but here. The cemetery was eerily quiet except for rain pounding the headstones and thunder rolling across the Indiana hills. I stumbled between the rows, my sneakers squelching in the muddy grass, until I reached the old oak tree where Mom rested. Her grave marker was simple but beautiful, polished grey marble with her name, dates, and the words beloved mother and healer etched below her smiling photograph. Even in the darkness, that smile felt like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. I collapsed to my knees, my hands gripping the wet grass. The cold bit deep into my skin, but I welcomed it. Anything was better than the burning rage inside my chest. Mom, I don't know what to do anymore, I whispered, my voice barely audible over the wind. She hates me. I can see it every single day. I can't even breathe in that house without feeling guilty for taking up space. The storm whipped my hair across my face, but I stayed perfectly still, staring at that precious photograph. Mom had worked double shifts as a nursing assistant at Cedar Falls General, sacrificing her own dreams of becoming an RN because she'd chosen me over everything else after Dad walked out. You're going to do it, sweetheart, she used to say, brushing my hair back as I studied at our kitchen table. You're going to make a real difference in this world. I laughed bitterly through my tears. Some difference I'm making. I'm nothing but a glorified maid now. And Linda wants to hand me over to some disgusting man who looks at me like I'm property up for auction. My voice cracked as the words tumbled out. I can't do it, Mom. I can't live like her, angry, bitter, surviving from one bottle to the next. I want to help people, not just exist in some toxic nightmare. A gust of wind sent rainwater streaming down the marble, almost like tears sliding from Mom's photograph. Something about that image shattered what was left of my composure. I leaned forward, pressing my forehead against the cold stone. I promised you, remember? I promised I'd keep going, that I'd build a life worth something. But I don't know how anymore. I'm so tired, Mom. I feel like I don't belong anywhere in this world. The silence felt heavy, oppressive. For a moment I actually considered staying there all night, letting the storm take me, no more chores, no more screaming, no more fear of tomorrow. Just peace. But somewhere deep down, another voice whispered, "Get up, Emily. Live. You owe me that much." I lifted my head slowly, gripping the marble like it was my anchor to sanity. Okay, Mom. I'll try. I don't know how yet, but I'll keep fighting. I sat there for what felt like hours, numb and shivering, until exhaustion finally pulled me under. The rain slowed to a gentle drizzle, and that's when I heard it, a voice, faint and uncertain. "Emily? Honey, is that you?" I turned my head, blinking through the dim morning light. Mrs. Dorothy Hansen, our elderly neighbor and retired school principal, stood at the cemetery entrance holding a bright red umbrella. Her eyes went wide when she saw my soaked clothes and pale face. "Sweet Jesus, child, what are you doing out here? You're freezing to death." I tried to stand, but my legs buckled, dizziness washing over me like a tide. That's when she rushed over, her warm hands gripping my shoulders with surprising strength. "Oh honey, you're burning up with fever. Come on, let's get you somewhere safe." For the first time in years, someone was holding me without anger or judgment, and I let myself lean into that small pocket of kindness as everything went dark around the edges. When I woke up, the smell of chamomile tea and fresh laundry surrounded me like a warm hug. I was lying on a floral couch in Mrs. Hansen's living room, a hand-knitted quilt tucked up to my chin. For a moment, I didn't move, wondering if everything at the cemetery had been some fever-induced nightmare. But then the ache in my body reminded me it was all real. The slap, the rain, the desperate prayer at Mom's grave. My head pounded like a bass drum, and each breath felt like swallowing glass. Mrs. Hansen shuffled in from the kitchen, still wearing her raincoat over her flowered housecoat. "Thank goodness you're awake," she said gently, worry creasing her weathered face. "Child, you're burning up something fierce. I already called the clinic. Dr. Bennett's on his way over." I tried to sit up, mumbling, "I'm fine, really." But she pressed a firm hand to my shoulder. "No, sweetheart, you're not fine. You spent the whole night in that storm. You're lucky I went to visit Harold's grave early this morning, or Lord knows what might have happened." I wanted to argue, but another wave of coughing tore through me, leaving me weak and dizzy. She shook her head and placed a steaming mug in my hands. "Sip this slowly, honey. Doctor should be here any minute." It wasn't long before I heard a car pulling into the driveway. Moments later, a man stepped into the room, tall, maybe mid-30s, with kind brown eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. His coat was damp from the drizzle, and a stethoscope hung around his neck like a badge of honor. "Emily Morrison?" he asked softly, crouching down to meet my eyes. "I'm Dr. James Bennett. Mrs. Hansen called about you." I nodded weakly. He placed 2 fingers on my wrist, checking my pulse, then gently touched my forehead with the back of his hand. "High fever. Tell me about your breathing, any tightness in your chest." "Feels like someone's sitting on it," I admitted, my voice hoarse as sandpaper. He listened with his stethoscope, his brow furrowing as he moved it across my back and chest. "You've got a nasty case of pneumonia developing. We need to get you to Cedar Falls General for a few days. You'll be fine with proper treatment, but no more nights in the rain, okay?" His tone was kind, not scolding, and for some reason that simple compassion made my eyes burn all over again. I don't have insurance," I whispered, shame coloring my cheeks. He smiled gently. "We'll figure that out later. Your job right now is to get well, not worry about bills." He glanced at Mrs. Hansen. "Can you pack her a bag? She'll need clothes and personal items for about a week." As he helped me to his silver Honda Civic, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the side mirror, pale face, damp hair plastered to my cheeks, eyes red from tears and fever. I looked broken, defeated. But when I glanced at Dr. Bennett, he wasn't looking at me like I was damaged goods. He looked at me like I mattered, like I was worth saving. The drive to the hospital was a blur, my head heavy against the passenger seat. I vaguely remember his voice, steady and reassuring. "You're going to be okay, Emily. You're safe now." For the first time in forever, I almost believed it. The hospital room was small but warm, painted a soothing shade of sage green that reminded me of Mom's herb garden. For the first 3 days, I drifted between fevered sleep and medication-induced fog, waking to the steady hum of machines and the soft beeping of monitors. Nurses came and went with quiet efficiency, but it was Dr. Bennett's presence that kept me grounded. He didn't just check charts and disappear like other doctors I'd seen when Mom was sick. He lingered, talked, asked questions that had nothing to do with temperature readings or lab results. On the 4th morning, I woke to find him sitting by the window, reviewing a patient file. When he noticed I was awake, he smiled warmly. "How's the breathing today?" "Better, I think," I said, surprised by how clear my voice sounded. He checked my lungs, nodding approvingly. "Excellent progress. Keep this up and you'll be out of here soon." He sat back, studying me thoughtfully. "Emily, what are your plans after high school?" The question caught me off guard. Nobody had asked about my future in years except to tell me it was hopeless. I hesitated. I wanted to be a nurse, like my mom dreamed of being. But things changed after she died. He didn't push, didn't pry. "What kind of nursing interests you?" "Emergency medicine, maybe. Somewhere I can help when it really matters." Something flickered in his eyes. Respect, maybe even admiration. That's not an easy path, but it's a noble one. "You know what I've noticed? The best nurses are often people who've faced real hardship themselves. They don't turn away from pain, they lean into it because they understand what it feels like." His voice grew softer. "Don't let anyone steal that dream from you, Emily. Not circumstances, not people who can't see your worth. You have something special, a heart that still wants to heal despite everything you've been through." I couldn't speak for a moment. Nobody had ever said anything like that to me, not as if it was obvious, as if it was already true inside me somewhere. My throat tightened. "Thank you," I managed. He smiled, standing. "Rest now. You'll need your strength." He paused at the door. "And Emily? When you get out of here, if you want guidance on nursing programs or anything else, come find me. I mean every word." After he left, I stared at the ceiling, his words echoing in my mind, "Don't let anyone steal that from you." It was strange how just one person believing in me made the crushing weight I'd carried feel suddenly lighter. For the first time in years, I thought maybe my life could be more than just surviving Linda's anger. Maybe I could actually build something meaningful, something that would make Mom proud. That afternoon, a new nurse came in to check my IV, a sharp-faced woman named Patricia who looked at me with barely concealed disdain. "So you're the girl Dr. Bennett's been fussing over," she said with a syrupy smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Sweet how he takes on charity cases." My stomach dropped. "Excuse me." She leaned closer, lowering her voice. "Honey, you should know. He's got a fiancée back in Indianapolis. Some lawyer. Don't get your hopes up thinking this is anything more than professional pity." The words hit like a slap. After she left, doubt crept in like poison. What if she's right? What if I'm just some pathetic project to him? But even as the thought tormented me, another voice whispered, "He saw something in you before you even told him your story. That has to mean something." I decided to hold on to hope, at least for now. After all, it was the first hope I'd felt in years. I was discharged from Cedar Falls General 5 days later, my lungs clear but still tender. Dr. Bennett gave me prescriptions, recovery instructions, and that same quiet smile as he said, "Remember what we talked about, Emily. Don't give up on your dreams." Mrs. Hansen drove me home in her old Bic, the scent of peppermints and lavender lingering inside. I wished the drive would never end, but Cedar Falls was small, and soon Linda's house came into view, peeling paint and sagging porch looking exactly as I'd left it. She was waiting at the front door, arms crossed, face twisted with familiar resentment. "So you decided to come back," she said flatly, as if I'd run off on vacation instead of nearly dying from pneumonia. "I was sick, Aunt Linda. Mrs. Hansen found me Anne." "You think I don't know?" she snapped. "Half this town's been whispering about how poor little Emily ended up in the hospital. You embarrassed me again." I tried to keep my voice steady. "I didn't ask to get sick." She waved me off dismissively. "I don't want excuses. What I want is for you to drop this nursing nonsense. College, moving away, that's all fantasy garbage. You've got a roof here, food, work. That should be enough for a girl in your position." The familiar heaviness pressed down on my chest, but this time it wasn't pneumonia. It was the feeling of my life shrinking back to nothing. "It's not enough," I whispered before I could stop myself. Her eyes narrowed dangerously. "What did you say?" I met her gaze, surprising even myself. "I said it's not enough, Aunt Linda. I want more than just surviving day to day. I want to go to school, to be something meaningful." She laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. "You? You think you're special, Emily? No. You'll stay here, do your chores, and be grateful. Or you can leave and see how far that attitude gets you in the real world." Before I could respond, Mrs. Hansen appeared on the porch steps, clutching a manila folder like it was made of gold. "Actually, Linda," she said, her voice sharp as winter wind, "this house belongs to Emily. Her mother left it to her in the will. I found the original documents at the county courthouse this morning." The color drained from Linda's face like water from a broken dam. "That's impossible. That's a lie." Mrs. Hansen handed over the folder, her eyes cold as January. "The only lie here is you pretending otherwise for all these years, Linda Morrison." For once in her life, Linda had nothing to say. She stood there like a statue, mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Then she spun on her heel and slammed the door so hard the windows rattled. I stared at the legal documents in my shaking hands, hardly believing what I was seeing. My name, my house, my choice. "Your mother made sure you'd always have a home, sweetheart," Mrs. Hansen said gently. "She just couldn't have known Linda would try to steal that from you." That night, I sat alone on the porch, the will spread across my lap like a map to a new world. For years I'd believed this house belonged to Linda, that I had no right to anything except the scraps she threw my way. But now the truth was crystal clear. This house was mine. My sanctuary. My foundation. I expected to feel angry, to want revenge for all the years of manipulation and abuse. But sitting there under the soft glow of the porch light, I felt something different. Something lighter. When Linda finally emerged from her room, eyes red and mouth tight with defeat, she didn't say a word. Just grabbed her purse and a small suitcase, muttering about staying with friends in the next county. I watched her go, my heart heavy but not bitter. I hope you find peace, Linda, I whispered to the empty night. Because I finally found mine. The house was mine now. My life was my own. And for the first time since Mom died, I felt like I could breathe freely. 3 months later, I found myself back at Maple Ridge Cemetery, standing before Mom's grave just as I had that stormy night. But everything felt different now. The sky was crystal clear, painted in soft pastels of dawn, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of honeysuckle from the nearby hills. In my hands, I held a small bouquet of white daisies, Mom's favorite flowers, fresh from the garden I'd replanted behind our house. I knelt and placed the flowers at the base of her headstone, brushing away a few fallen leaves from the marble surface. "Hey, Mom," I whispered, smiling through happy tears. "Things are so different now. I wanted to tell you everything." I settled cross-legged in the grass, as comfortable as if I were sitting in our old kitchen. I'm volunteering at the hospital 3 days a week now, shadowing the ER nurses. Dr. Bennett arranged it. He's been like a guardian angel, helping me with college applications and scholarship forms. And Mom, I got accepted to Indiana University's nursing program. I start in the fall. My voice grew stronger, filled with wonder at how much had changed. The house feels like home again. I painted my old bedroom the same lavender you used to love, and I planted your herb garden by the back steps. Mrs. Hansen stops by almost every day with casseroles and stories about when you two were young. She says I have your stubborn streak. I laughed softly. I guess that's not such a bad thing after all. I pressed my palm against the smooth marble, feeling the warmth of morning sun even through the cool stone. Linda's been gone 2 months now. I heard she's staying with her sister in Fort Wayne, trying to get sober. I hope she does, Mom. I really do. I'm not angry anymore, just grateful I didn't let her bitterness poison me too. A cardinal landed on a nearby branch, its bright red feathers brilliant against the green leaves. Mom always said cardinals were messengers from heaven. I kept my promise, I said, my voice barely a whisper. I'm living, Mom. Really living. Not just surviving, but building something beautiful. And every day I work toward becoming a nurse, I feel you with me. I stood slowly, brushing grass from my jeans. I used to think I had to fight for revenge to feel whole. But all I really needed was to choose something better. To choose myself, and the dreams we shared. As I turned to leave, I saw Dr. Bennett's Honda Civic parked at the cemetery entrance. He was leaning against the driver's door, watching quietly with that familiar gentle smile. "You ready for your first day of volunteer orientation?" he called out. I walked toward him with steady, confident steps. More ready than I've ever been for anything. The drive back to Cedar Falls felt like floating on air. The house waiting for me was no longer a prison but a sanctuary of new beginnings. Mrs. Hansen had promised to stop by later with her famous apple pie, and my first official day shadowing the emergency room nurses was about to begin. Life wasn't perfect. I still had challenges ahead, student loans to manage, and the hard work of nursing school looming. But it was mine now, shaped by my choices, my dreams, and the people who believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. Even Linda, wherever she was, no longer haunted my thoughts. I genuinely hoped she found the peace that had finally found me. As we pulled into the hospital parking lot, I glanced back toward the hills where Mom rested and smiled. "Thank you," I whispered, to her, to Mrs. Hansen, to Dr. Bennett, and to myself for not giving up. Sometimes healing doesn't mean fixing broken people or getting revenge. Sometimes it just means choosing not to break with them, and building something beautiful from what's left. And for the first time in my life, I knew with absolute certainty that I was going to be more than okay. I was going to be extraordinary.